in terms of men versus women, younger versus older? Give us a quick demographic profile.
There are about 16,000 women veterans in Connecticut, but women today in the military make up almost 20% of the total force. That's including the reserves, the guard, and active duty. So women are on the march, and they are assuming many. I was just very proud of the fact that the new Surgeon General of the Army is in fact a nurse and a woman. So things are changing in the military. This is not your father or your mother's military.
Yeah.
And in this state, the largest group of people the largest group of veterans are our Vietnam era veterans. We have about 82,000 here in this state.
So among all the veterans, Lynn, what are the biggest problems that they face?
The biggest problem they face is they don't know, many of them have no idea what benefits they are eligible for. And that's one of the biggest challenges we have at the department. We constantly are doing outreach, because what we're seeing right now is some of our World War II veterans who should have been in the system many years ago, now their backs are against the wall, they have nowhere to turn, and so out of desperation they ask for help, and they really have no idea that all along they could have been receiving some help from not only the state, but the federal VA.
Do you mean literally, Lynn, they don't know where to go?
They don't know
where to go. So how do you reach out to these people who don't know where to go? I noticed on your website it talked about this Office of Advocacy and Assistance.
Yes,
is that?
Yes, that is an important linkage, a bridge. We have one office in each of the congressional districts. We're just now moving into a new office in Milford.
Of which there are 5.
Yes, there are 5. And in those offices, we have all of my service officers are veterans, and many of them are combat veterans, but they have been they have gone to school. They are accredited by the federal VA to assist veterans with their claims and to hook them up with any benefits to which they are entitled. And that also means not just veterans benefits, but state benefits. So when anybody calls me with an issue, the first thing I ask them is, where do you live? Because we have one in Waterbury, we have one in Norwich, we have one now in Milford, and one in Newington at the regional office, and one in Bridgeport. And what's nice about Bridgeport, Norwich, and Milford is they are in the town halls.
Okay.
So when people are there, if they have questions, they can stop right in. We have staff there. They are state employees. And I would recommend that if anybody has any questions or thinks they might be entitled to something, that they need to touch base with our folks there, because if we don't know the answer, we'll certainly get it for them.
Okay. There are 4 things that I listed in my own mind. Health, residence, jobs, those kinds of major categories. If you had to prioritize for me which play into their biggest problems areas, what would it be?
Well,
health, residence, jobs?
It's really generational. For the young veterans coming home,
jobs.
It's jobs. It definitely is jobs. And I have to give a tip of the cap to Governor Malloy, because just a few weeks ago, he announced and asked each of the agencies that if a veteran applies to your agency and is qualified for the job, will you give them a face-to-face interview? Because today, with unemployment being what it is, people can send out hundreds of resumes and get nothing.
Right.
But out of respect and honor for our veterans, Governor has asked that state agency give them the face-to-face.
You know, for your information, Lynn, I do a lot of career management seminars as one of my consulting practices, and I go down to Groton once every 3 months. And there's a couple of hundred Navy and Coast Guard Marine veterans sitting in the audience, and I got to tell you, these people are relatively young, because, I mean, they spend 20, 25 years, and they go in there anywhere between 18 and 21.
Right.
I mean, by their late 40s, early 50s, there they are. They're in the prime of their life. And you know what, Linda? When I'm done with that all-day seminar, the thing that continues to impress me the most, and I've been doing it for 5 years now, Lynn, so I've seen like several thousand of them now. And the thing that impresses me the most is they don't know how to express their transferable skills that they picked up in the service to the private employee. And I spend 1 hour actually telling them how good they are with the skill set they're carrying around.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because Governor Malloy just gave me a mandate 2 weeks ago. We had a bill in the legislature that did not go anywhere, but it was a very good bill because it talked about creating a task force to assist veterans and employers to translate military skills and military experience into skills that would be something used in the civilian sector.
Right.
And the second part is we do have some issues with, when I was in the military, I went to the University of Maryland at nights to get my degree. And now some of the colleges are not accepting transfer credits, or many of our, I can give a good example of someone who was a first-class priority type, wonderful classification in the Navy welder. He couldn't get his card here.
Skilled labor.
And so he went, he had to go start from square one. Or someone who was a combat medic, they wouldn't even give him the opportunity to be a nurse's aide. They say, if you go to class for 10 weeks, you can be a nurse's aide.
Well, let's end this particular question with I volunteer.
Okay. Well, good. You're on.
If you need help doing that, Linda, I volunteer to do that, to be on that, whatever you want to call it.
Because we're crafting the future. This is just beginning, and with the drawdown, we're expecting between 6,000 and 8,000 men and women in uniform to be leaving the service.
Yeah, sure. So the biggest obstacles or problems that you face, I mean, I listed 3 categories. One is always our favorite category, maybe not so, Lynn, money.
Absolutely.
Having the financial resources to allocate, right? The other is the political will to do it. From Washington to the state to the local level, but primarily Washington to the state, because especially in Washington, they go in ebbs and flows when it comes to funding veterans, and it can be outright disgusting at times watching them. And the other thing is, what's the best way to say this? Because you brought up, and you're right, Vietnam was draft. The Gulf Wars were not draft. It's all volunteer, right? So probably less than 1/2 of the population serves, the men and women that are serving, which gives rise to, my words, not yours, a lack of appreciation. Well, if you combine lack of appreciation with lack of political will, it's no surprise that the money doesn't follow. I mean, am I close to analyzing that correctly?
I think the most important thing is that the VA budget, the federal VA budget, is larger than it has ever been. President Obama has kept his promise to veterans. The problem is how that money gets down to the veteran in Connecticut and how it will help him or her. Some of the programs, as I mentioned before, businesses do not know how to access some of those wonderful opportunities, both in Connecticut's job bill and the federal job bill. So, you know, a friend of mine told me this the other day, and I do believe it. It's we save lives, one veteran at a time. And so because of, first of all, here in the state of Connecticut, let me say, we can all be very proud of the attitudes of our legislators and the leadership of Governor Malloy. And also, the one thing that we have is we have a small state, and so the network that provides, we work together. We can't all do everything, but by working together, we certainly are able to address the needs as they arise. And if not, we certainly know someone who can help. So,
okay, we've got about 4 minutes left. Let me ask you some quick questions. How can people help you and the veterans? I mean, donations, volunteering, partnerships, sponsorships,
well,
how can we help?
We have a website. It's the ct.gov/
That's the government portal.
Yeah, then CTVA, like the VA. I think if people hear of a veteran in need, they should call us. We have a toll-free number, which is 1-866-9-CT-VETS. And we have, on normal duty days, someone answers that, and if not, we'll get to it on the next duty day.